Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Walker, Senior Vice President of Public Policy for the Overland Park Chamber of Commerce. With me today is Dawn Rattan, a candidate for Johnson County Community College Board of Trustees. Today we're going to spend some time getting to know Dawn and learn about her candidacy and the priorities she has if elected to the Board of Trustees. Dawn, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Let's start by having you take a few minutes to tell us about yourself and why you're running for this position.
Sure. I'm a native of Kansas City, Kansas. Went to Sumner Academy and then attended Florida A&M University on a full academic scholarship and completed a degree in chemical engineering. I worked for Procter & Gamble for 11 years. After I took a voluntary separation package from Procter & Gamble, I was a stay-at-home mom for a couple of years. Just rewinding, while I was at Procter & Gamble, I did a variety of roles, a lot of process improvement, and a few horizontal assignments in human resources as well. After being a stay-at-home mom, I helped my husband with our first business that we started up, which was Village West Discount Liquors. Then I started my own business, which was Everfit Gym. So we've had the liquor store for about 12 years, and I've had the gym for about 6 years. I've always felt like it was important to give back to the community, and so we support a number of nonprofits, especially if it has anything to do with children. But I started to turn towards looking at public service as well. I did run for city council back in 2019 in Shawnee and didn't lose, but learned a lot about the city. I've also done Shawnee Tomorrow, which is through some of the chambers, and learned a lot about Shawnee and the county on the whole. So after doing like Shawnee Tomorrow and some of those leadership groups, I thought, let me get involved and let me be part of some of the solutions, especially with like development in Shawnee or just helping the whole area improve. And while I did not win that race, it definitely made me want to continue helping. So I am on the executive board of the Shawnee Chamber, or on the board of the Shawnee Chamber of Commerce. I am on the Charter Commission for the county, and continue to help out, do some mentoring here and there. So then I became interested in running for Johnson County Community College Board of Trustees, and initially I thought I'd never run for anything ever again, but after thinking about my own personal story and how education changed my life, it changed my mind. And I thought, you know, if I can be a leader in an educational field, because I've always loved learning, I tell everyone I'm a big nerd. If I can be a leader there, if I can help knock down some obstacles, whether that's connectivity, transportation, affordability, or even any learning disabilities, and help more people get educated, it helps our whole community. It helps all of us. And so I'm excited about that. The other thing is just being a good steward of this asset in our community. We pay, between businesses and residents, 67% of the budget for the community college, so just taking care of the money and doing the right thing with it. And then also being on the team to bring the community college into the future. I think there are a lot of exciting things on the horizon out in front of us over the next 10 years, and I want to be on the team to bring that process engineer, process improvement, experience in human resources, experience in the community, even being a mom, bring that experience to the board for a seat at the table to make sure that all of that is taken into account and we've got some good perspective on the board as we move to the future. And then finally, mental health is important. I think that can be another obstacle to students, and I'd love to get in and just make sure that we've got all the resources there for students that we can. So really, it's a form of giving back for me, and I'm excited about the future.
Well, thank you for that background. That's wonderful. And you've mentioned a couple things, but let's transition into the questions because you'll have a chance to elaborate.
Yes.
What would be your top agenda priorities as a trustee that you would work towards for the betterment of the college and the education that it provides?
Sure. The first thing I'd like to say is I'm on the outside trying to get into the inside, and so I've got some ideas sitting out here, but the first thing I'm going to do is get into the college and listen and learn. Talk to the students, talk to the faculty, talk to all the stakeholders, talk to the staff, and really learn what's going on, where I'm needed, where I can make a difference. And so listen and learn. So I don't have a top one, I'm going to add this or cut this, because I think I've got to get in and learn first. And that's always been my style. But again, what's important to me is accessibility. And I know the college gives millions of dollars in scholarships, and we've got the Kansas Promise, but is there more to do to help with accessibility and retention and success after college? And again, making sure we're a good steward of the money, getting into the details of the budget, finding out if there are any efficiencies, anything we can improve, or anything we need to add. And then, of course, we talked about moving into the future. I'd love to be on the president's team to move the college towards making his strategic plan a reality and beyond, and every other strategic plan after that. And then, like I said, taking care of students and their mental health and making sure they feel like they're there, they belong, and they can be successful at the college.
Great, thank you. With respect to paying for the cost of educating the college's students, where do you stand regarding tuition increases versus mill levy increases, and what's the appropriate way to balance those interests?
I think it's an ongoing job, and probably a big job of the trustee board. I will say, if you go back in history and look at when the college was founded in the 60s, the taxpayers and the founders of this college agreed that taxes from the residents would go to support this college, and I think that rings true, and we should still continue to do that. Where our mill levy sits right now, the average house in Johnson County is just under $350,000, around $330,000. The mill levy is around 0.9, hovering around there. When you calculate that, and you can go to mytaxbill.jocogov.org, there's a website, you'll see that if your house is the average price of a house in Johnson County, you pay about $350 per year for the mill levy for JCCC. That's $1 a day. That's less than $1 a day. And if you ask me where I am, again, for my love of education, if you ask me if I'll give JCCC $1 a day, yes, I will. Now, I know that it can be a hardship and a burden for some people. I would ask them to go and do the research on their taxes, and just as a tangent, look at all of your taxes. JCCC is not taking the lion's share. On my personal tax bill, it is the 4th highest item on my personal tax bill from where I live. So I think that what we're paying is fair for what we get when we think about the education, the community services that we get, and it is the cultural center of our community. Now, with regard to the original agreement, I believe, was a third. The state and tuition thirds have dropped, and they are lower. We do have some work to figure out how to get all those three strings to stay in balance. I also do like that tuition is about $94 per hour for in-county. It's around $115, $116 for the metro rate. And again, one of our goals is to keep this as an affordable college where people can get an education and be relatively debt-free. I'd still like to maintain that. There's still a lot of work to balance those. It's an ongoing job. But I do like the rate of tuition, and as a taxpayer, I don't mind paying $1 per day to support this institution.
Next question, Kansas is experiencing low unemployment rates, and employers are struggling to find qualified workers, especially in skilled and technical trades. What role should Johnson County Community College play with regard to workforce development locally and statewide?
Yeah, I would go and see if there's someone who's doing this right and go benchmark off of them. We have some nationally known programs like our BNSF training program for railroad engineers. Our paralegal program is one of the few that's endorsed by the American Bar Association. But there's also some places that are doing it right. For instance, someone brought up to me that Anthony Plumbing has like a plumbing university, and that results in them having a retention of 20 years for their employees. Even out in the community and nationally, let's go see who's doing that education, workforce development, hiring and retention right, and reapply some of those. I mean, we can throw out partnerships and recruiting, but we are doing that already. So what do we need to tweak and do differently with how our partnerships are going so that we can have a tighter bond? And some of the skills and trades are doing where you go to school for a couple of days a week and you're in the field for a couple of days a week. I know I would personally like that experiential hands-on work and not just classroom. There's also a lot of work to do to really market how much you can make, how far you can grow, that you can become an owner of this trade or this company in the future. So marketing, finding out who's doing it right, reapplying best practices, and of course partnering with industries here in the metro to find out exactly what they want. There's sometimes we may be educating our students on one thing, but it needs to be tweaked and it needs to be changed just slightly so that it's the right thing for the workforce. And then bring all those hiring companies in and let them market and tell what they need and make it look attractive, because they can talk about their company better than we can.
What do you see as the key aspects of the community college's coordination with our high schools, our universities, and other post-secondary educational institutions?
Yeah, it's to keep that tight bond. We talked about enrollment is down across the nation at a lot of the community colleges, and as with us, and so we've got to make a tight bond. I recommend that the Board of Trustees becomes ambassadors, that we all take 2 or 3 colleges and high schools and we adopt those and we go see them quarterly. I think that we can strengthen that bond. Budget's tight. Of course, can we grow our recruiting staff? Yes. But can we take some ambassadors, like, what is it, the Chiefs Red Coat ambassadors? I think they're doing that for free. Can we take some people who just really love the college? There are some people who have a lot of love for the college. Let's get them out in the community, creating relationships, because at the end of the day, it's all about a relationship. And we're meeting with those students, those counselors, those principals, those other colleges, and making sure that there's a tight bond and there's a two-way street, and that it continues and is sustainable across all the years.
And what is your vision for the college 10 years from now?
My vision for the college 10 years from now is that we are doing what we're doing. We're still the cultural center of the county. I have a love for STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, and I'd love to be a STEM leader, but also a leader in the trades as well. I'd love to have more programs like the BNSF program, where we're nationally known. I think that we are on the verge of doing that with a lot of programs. It's also with some of our clubs like debate, even some of our sports like volleyball or cheerleading. So I'd like to continue to have some kind of nationally known kind of designations where we're leaders in some of those chosen fields. I'd like to, of course, get enrollment to where it needs to be, higher back to, I think it was it years 95. There were a few years where our enrollment was really great, and I think we had a nice balance. I like to make sure that faculty there feels like they are appreciated and rewarded. There's a great relationship. There's some work that we're trying to figure out about shared governance and how that works. And in the future, I hope that we've figured that out and we've really nailed it. And we're best in class in several areas.
Great. My last question for you is, why do you believe you are uniquely qualified to serve on the trustees board, and why are you seeking this office?
So, why I'm seeking the office, again, education changes a person's life, it changes a family, it changes generations, and it changes a community. So if I can be a part of that, then personally it would make me really happy. And then why do I think I'm qualified? I do think that my experience as an engineer and experience at a Procter & Gamble that's very process-driven, experience in human resources, even bargaining contracts, dealing with conflict, dealing with organizational design, all come to play. Starting up a business, starting up 2 businesses in different industries, I think is an asset. Being a mom is an asset. Working in communities and different community groups is also an asset that I'd like to bring to the table. So I think that I do have the skills and qualifications that would help round out the diversity of opinion on the Board of Trustees, and maybe some things that they haven't had or they haven't had recently. I'm not sure if I finished answering your question.
No, I think you've done a great
Any
job.
skills. Okay, thank you.
Dawn, I appreciate you spending some time with us today. Before we wrap up, I just want to give you a couple minutes to provide any final thoughts if you'd like to.
Sure. I'd say that I've worked with a lot of people in my life. Worked with my kids, worked with executives, worked with moms. I also am a teacher. I teach fitness classes every day, so how to teach and impart knowledge and impart skills to people. I've worked with people of all ages, races, social economic levels, abilities, and I think that that would also be another thing that would make me qualified to be on the board. And again, I would beg people to elect people who are pro-education, who are doing this for the right thing. And I believe that with the endorsements that I've gotten, with the heart that I know that I am pro-education, I'm doing this for all the right reasons, and that the people who vote for me will not have any regrets, and they'll be happy that they voted for me over time, immediately and over time.
Great. Well, again, I want to thank you for joining us today for a few minutes. And let me remind everybody that's watching, advance voting by mail begins on Wednesday, October 13th. Advance voting in person begins on Saturday, October 23rd. And of course, Election Day is Tuesday, November 2nd.
Everybody vote.